Today's message from Reverend Christian Sorensen was recorded on June 10th, 2018, and it's titled, Separation to Relationship, Affirming, I Am a Channel for Spirit's Expression. And today we welcome the incredible talent and voice of Gary Lynn Floyd. And from our website page at joyspodcast.com, you can find links to his Facebook page. And come visit us at seasidecenter.org, the website, or you can join us in Encinitas, California sometime, where we always have great music, a spirited message, and a joyful, loving, vibrant community that await you.
Good morning, Seaside. It is my honor to introduce our guest artist, and I love it when he's here. He's such a wonderful, wonderful spirit, incredible performer, singer, and we have seen him here also as Floyd Lula duo, but we also love when he's here on his own. He has music too, if you want to see him after the service. And also, he's doing a concert today, right after second service. So please stick around for that. Free music, free food, and just a wonderful time to gather together. So without further ado, please help me welcome Gary Lynn Floyd.
Thank you. Good morning, Seaside. So great to be back. This is a song, this is my contribution to the new paradigm, making the world a better place. Give me your tired, your poor and huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. Come now before another moment passes. Bring them to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Do it to the least of these. You've done it unto me. Who will light your way, lead you from the dark of night into a brighter day? Who will guide you till you find an end to your suffering? Look no further, it is I. You're lost, you're brave and broken travelers, searching here for peace, not one too far, for my strong arms are open. Rest in your release. Illuminate your mind, seek you will find. Lift the clouds of your oppression. Time now to break free. Who will light your way, lead you from the dark of night into a brighter day? Who will guide you till you find an end to your suffering? Look no further, it is I. From the fire of freedom glows a worldwide welcome. Taste and see. Your exile is over. You are home. Come to me. Come to me. Yeah. Who will light your way, lead you from the dark of night into a brighter day? Who will guide you till you find an end to your suffering? Look no further, it is I. Give me your tired, your poor and huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. bring them to me. Thank you, thank you.
Woo! Gary Lynn, the artistic director for our movement. You can find him at every conference we put on. And he drove all the way down here yesterday from Lake Tahoe, where he lives. So 9 hours to be here with us at Seaside. We appreciate your gifts, your love, your dedication to the movement. So how fabulous. And you talk about being connected. Wow. Spirit comes through you. Amazing. Great song. I hadn't heard that. Wonderful. Hey, so this message is from separation to relationship. And this message is inspired by one of the titles of her chapter, Marianne Williamson's book, The Gift of Change. And it is about just being able to be connected with the Spirit in a greater way. But we've got something called our mind. It gets kind of busy. I don't know if you have one that just kind of chats all the time, tells you what you should be doing. It's kind of got this attitude. You know, Christian, you shouldn't be doing this or hanging out with them. And all of a sudden it's telling me what to do and what not to do. And it's just chatting away like crazy. And it's like, it is really the first voice in my head and the loudest. It like shows up. It's not the quiet, silent type. It is the one that jumps in first and says, this is what you should be doing. Now, don't think anything else. And all of a sudden, what happens sometimes is we tend to follow that which is the loudest and that which is the first, and we think this is the answer. And this is what often will get me into trouble. Because it says, hey, that person did this to you. It starts pointing outside of yourself for the challenges and the difficulties, that it's out there somewhere. And that creates, separation. Notice that? When you start looking outside, because that's where the problem is, out there, that is called separation. And it starts saying, well, you got to withdraw your love because they're just messing you up. It's like, no. But all of a sudden, as I begin to deny my love to that person out there, what I'm really doing is denying that love to this person in here. And then as I begin to deny the love in my life, I create the schism and the separation, and the experience of Spirit gets further away from my experience. Because my head is now taking charge of my life. Not my heart, not the soul, not the Spirit. I forgot to meditate today, so all of a sudden I'm listening to that loudest first voice that is just creating all sorts of challenges. And so I go to God and say, give me the paintbrush back, God. You're not doing it very well. I need to show you how it needs to be. And so I get into these relationships, or I used to, and say, this is how you should be, this is how you should behave, this is what you should do, and that's called control. If you haven't noticed, it's called control. This is what I want you to be when you're with me. No, that is called prison. And relationships are soul encounters where relationship is about bringing freedom. Have you ever noticed, when you're calm, everybody else around you is calmer? When you are kind, everyone else around you is kinder. You're at peace. Others seem to be at peace. It's amazing. See, it's this inside thing that begins to outpicture because we're all connected. There isn't really a separation. That's all an illusion, but yet we're living in this illusion or this hallucination thinking we are separate. No, what is happening is something inside is creating what's going on outside. So, let's say you're in there feeling separation, alone, looking for a relationship, and all of a sudden say, hey, you better get a relationship. So all of a sudden, a relationship starts to show up, and that loud first voice, some call the ego, says, oh no, sabotage, you can't go there because then I'm going to lose control of the dynamics of the inner realm here because your emotions and your feelings and your spirit are going to start waking up. So sabotage is what goes on. Now, as the love comes closer and it starts feeling, wow, this could be happening, the sabotage may look like all of a sudden you're needy and you repel. Or all of a sudden you're at a nice sense of peace, love is showing up, and you get totally neurotic. It's if you don't want to, misbehave. You want to act appropriately, and you find yourself with love around acting like an idiot. It's just, why are you doing these things? You get tongue-tied. And so, as we can relax into that moment and go to the place of peace and serenity and begin to trust in a deeper way and stop denying our love and sharing that love and being vulnerable and open, we begin to open up. But how can we open up if we're so occupied? Because we're living in this wild whirlwind, Western worshiping of productivity that looks like what it is I can get done. And Tam McKeeves, as Kat shared with you, is coming to Seaside this summer, says maybe what we should be trying to work on is getting things undone. It's a little different approach. It doesn't work very well, I guess, with productivity unless you realize or think that maybe being rested, refreshed, energized, and good to go again might make a difference in your life. But it's as we are willing to let go of what I think I should be doing, and be available for what needs to be done. But what happens so much is we're getting so much done that we don't recognize we're not getting done what needs to be done. Does that make sense? Yes. Yeah. And so in this kind of energetic expression and not accomplishing what is good to the soul, we begin to remove ourselves further and further away. We're caught up in thinking we're in this material world. And we're in this world because, I'm a body. Obviously, I'm in this world. And we begin to think, I am this body. And I start thinking about that. And the head says, but Christian, you're just like a little speck of dust in this vast universe. What can you do to direct that? But I have a different perspective than that first loud voice in my head. And that is, I'm part of that which is limitless, which makes me limitless. And with the limitless potential and possibility, I am not earthbound or stuck by the material universe or with what is going on or with the verdicts that are put before me. And documentation says, man, you got a problem, dude. I'm available to a greater divine download. I'm not caught up in the worshiping of the mass productivity. I don't want to go to my grave and say, here lies Christian. He returned his emails within 24 hours. I don't want that as my epitaph. Callie says, my epitaph, I got to write another talk. Always saying that. But, it's honoring your soul and your spirit. I don't want to just go and do. I want to be able to experience. I don't want to just make it to the beach. I want to watch the sun kissing, the day goodbye with a green flash at the end and feeling the beauty that is there. I'm recognizing I've only got a bucket of summers left. I want to be in the mountains and listening to the osprey above my deck, screeching to one another across the valley and seeing the eagles soar and the hawks or the owls hoot at night or see the wind rippling through the treetops and smelling the pine and jumping and being quickened with my spirit when something startles me and I don't know what it is out in the woods. It's like I can feel that spirit. I want to jump into that lake on a hot summer day or feel the fresh cold and recognizing that you've got to honor what is in your soul to be able to be refreshed and be clear and to be energized. And if I only have a bucket of summers left, where am I putting myself? Just trying to get experiences and do things and get things done, be productive and answer those emails, or am I going to honor that soul? Because as I slip into that place of connectedness with the infinite, there is a richness, there is a fullness, there is a divine that is seeking to express through you. But if you're not available, how can you do what's next for you to do? But as you return and merge back into the one and heal that sense of schism or separation or the chasm that is there, you begin to remember. And as you remember, you find what it is that is yours to do now. And you joyously do it. And you apply yourself in its activity, not because it's got to be done, and not because it is work, but because you are like merging with that which is yours to do. And you get into the practice of it. You get into sync with it. And if people are looking and say, boy, that is a lot of work you're doing. That's not a lot of work. It's a lot of joy. Yeah. It's work, but it's what is mine to do. It's Bear Bryant. He was a coach, a winningest football coach in college history. And he said that the will to win isn't what really matters because everyone has that. It is the will to practice to win that matters. Yeah. You got to be willing to apply yourself here. The basketball guy, I forget his name. But he said, or his coach told him, that you got to recognize when you're not practicing, somewhere, someone is practicing. And when you two meet, the one who's going to win is the one who's practiced the most. You've got to be willing to allow yourself to get into that. And it's not because it is an effort. It is because it is that which I'm here to do. A wonderful painter, Weiland, I think it's Robert Weiland, maybe? But we probably just know him as Weiland. He's the guy who's painted those huge murals on the side of buildings of dolphins and whales and the sea life. I think we got one downtown here. There's 100 of them across the planet. These enormous things. Those are what put him on the map in a big way. But as a kid, in school, he loved to paint. In high school, he used to sell his paintings for like $35. Don't we wish we would have bought a bunch? But anyway, at that point in his life, he just wanted money so he could buy more art supplies so he could paint. And finally, while in high school, his mom said, son, painting is a hobby. It's not a job. You've got to go out and get some real work. So she took him that summer down to, he was Detroit, Michigan, took him down into the unemployment bureau. And he applied, and he recognized after having 3 jobs in 3 days in which he didn't make it on any of them, that was not his call. And so he created an art studio in his basement, and he spent his time there enough to create a portfolio that got him a free ride, full scholarship to the Art Institute in Detroit. And when he graduated from there, or while he was going there, he set up an art studio at home, painted all the time. But there's something stirring in his soul. He said, I'm not really selling much art here. I got to go to like an artist community. Is when he picked up and moved to a place up the street here, up the freeway, Laguna, a nice artist colony, and he started painting the sea stuff there. And he was sending some of his stuff over to Hawaii, and they were selling it for big dollars in the galleries, and they weren't sending him his money. And he said, come on, what's going on here? He said, well, things have gotten more expensive over here. We're behind with our rent or bill. We got it. And he wasn't getting, so he was motivated because of that downturn or that challenge to open his first gallery in Laguna Beach. Because he thought, I can hang my paintings where I want to hang them. I can frame them how I want to frame them. I can sell them to who I want to sell them. And I get to keep the money. And he thought that was a good idea. And he has now gone on to be legendary in his art expression of the seascapes and the underwater seascapes. And it's because there was something inside of him. And it wasn't because he was just kicking back and doing nothing. He was applying himself. He was practicing. He was putting in the time. He was putting in the energy. That's what happens when you merge and have a relationship with the Spirit and you become that conduit for it to express itself in life. That's how it works. Michael Crichton, he won a Peabody and an Emmy for the ER, the television show. He has, his books have sold over 100 million copies. That's a lot. It's been put into 30 different languages. He's the only person in America who's had a #1 TV show, movie, and television show all going at the same time. His books have been made in 12 different movies. He's directed 7 of them. Things like Jurassic Park, The Adrenaline Strain, The Congo, Twister, Coma, Westworld. My dad was in that one. It's like all of a sudden, it's like you've got to apply yourself. And what he said is that, writing a book isn't its success. It's rewriting the book that you come to realize it's a success, especially after the 7th rewrite doesn't quite cut it. It's like you don't just stop there. You've got to continue, but it is your joy to go back and rewrite. I don't know about 7 times, but Hemingway, Ernest Hemingway, To Arms, what was that one? Farewell to Arms, that's it. He rewrote that book 39 times. And that was thick. And it went on to win the Pulitzer, a Nobel Prize in literature. He too was into rewriting. I'm sharing this because when you allow yourself to merge into that which is yours to do, it may look like a lot of work to somebody else, but it is your joy, it is your passion, it is your love, It is what you do, and it brings you success. And that's something that stirs inside of you, turns out on the outside. There is an immense amount of good that is within you, and when you begin to recognize the immense amount of good that is within you, that immense amount of good begins to material in other places, outside in your world, but it begins inside. And as you are doing your practices, as you are doing your shtick, as you are doing that which you came here to do, you're healing that sense of separation of the dream and the vision and the pull of your being. You're merging back into a relationship with the whole. And as you go there, things begin to open up before you that support you as into taking the next step. But you are the one who's got to recognize that I've got to step. And in stepping, you may stumble. But those who love you are not distracted by your stumbles or your mistakes or your challenges. They see you and they love you and they honor you for who you are. A beautiful expression of the divine spirit. And sometimes, though, what happens is we can get caught up in the stumble and the challenge, and we begin to focus in on that mistake. And as we begin to look in on the mistakes and come from that sense of fear and recognize, well, maybe I better not stretch so much next time. That was a little bit too far. And all of a sudden, when that kind of thinking goes, well, what's going on is you're coming from a sense of fear. Right? And as you're coming from that sense of fear, you get a little bit more comfortable. This is my edge. Or this is my comfort zone. And as we go more and more behind that comfort zone, the fear becomes natural. Fear is what creates separation from our source. But as the fear becomes natural and the love becomes unnatural, all of a sudden we're operating from that place that is no longer connected. It's a sense of separation that this loud first voice in my head is now winning out and says, don't go there. But hey, listen. But what are you listening to is the key. Marianne Williamson, as we know, is coming to Seaside. She shares a story in this book about going out to dinner with her mom, an elderly mom. And they were out at a restaurant. After the restaurant, they went into the women's room. And her mom was washing her hands when this little 5-year-old so came out of the stall. And she came up to the sink. And this little kid, she couldn't reach the sink. Now, her elderly mom came from an era where there's maybe a little bit more expression of kindness, or I don't know. Anyway, this mom, just naturally goes and picks up this little girl and helps her, to wash her hands. But as she's picking her up, this little girl's mom comes running out of the stall and just grabs her little girl away from this old lady, gives her the meanest, nastiest look. Marianne says it just broke her heart to see how sad her mom was when all she was trying to do was help this little girl. But what are we teaching? Some of us teaching the kids today is you can't talk to strangers. Now, I understand. I got a kid, but you can't talk to anybody. A little old lady in a bathroom is not okay. Come on. Don't tell Marianne I said that about her mom. But, it's like, what is going on? But when we are coming from a place of fear, and that becomes more natural than love, than reaching out, than assisting, we've got a problem. And we've got an issue. And there's a challenge that is going on. If we want to heal that separation, move from separation to relationship, we've got to be willing to do what it takes to do that and to reach out. But what happens is that mind has got us captive. It is in there messing us up with some of our thinking because it has won the position of the loudest and the first. And so it needs to be eliminated from in there. But sometimes we think, well, we need to talk about it, we need to learn about it, we need to discover more of what's going on. Why is it there? And let me discover why and where it came from and all these kind of things. And all that has its place and its value. But I'll tell you what, if you come home and you find a burglar in your house, you're not going to sit down and say, hey, what's your name? Before I call the police, I need to let them know who's in here robbing me. You kick them out, right? You get out of here. Now you call for help right away. Well, when there's something going on in your head, you need to kick it out of there. If it's creating problems, then you need to get it out. Marianne, she writes, from this chapter, that the ego is our deepest enemy masquerading as our closest friend. Yeah. It's nothing we should fear, however, because the moment we recognize it as merely as a mental miscreation, simply a false belief about who we are, it will disappear into the nothingness from whence it came. We ourselves, however, cannot command its departure. It has absconded with our will and confused our defenses. Like an immune system disease that attacks its own cells, the ego attacks the mind it purports to give life to. And here, only God can help. That's heavy. And it's encouraging. It's like, we've got to recognize it, that there's something more available to us. Because that ego thing, I don't think it's totally wrong. It gives us our chutzpah and our strength and our courage. I mean, it has its place. It's just not the one that should be in the main seat. And when it takes charge, it can obscure the way we're operating. No matter what it is. It was interesting. I left the glasses there. They never told me I was going to need these later. Anyway, since I was talking about this thief kind of thing, there's a fun article I read this week about a bank robbery that took place in Alaska. It said an Alaskan bank robbery suspect left behind a big clue to his identity last week, handing a teller a hold-up note written on the back of a welfare application from the application form that listed his name and birthday. But the police didn't need that evidence to help track down the alleged robber, Michael Gale Nash. He was sitting outside the bank counting his money when the police arrived. The FBI spokesperson said that's probably the quickest apprehension we've had in years. It's just a strange thing that we do sometimes when naturally we could be doing something else. Yeah. And sometimes we don't know what to do. And that's when that loud first voice can mislead us, when we're in that place of not knowing, where you want to learn to get quiet and to sit and to be present with the one, because there is no separation from that one. Sometimes we have made a mistake in our life that is significant, impactful. To err, I like that word from the first service. I came out err. To err is human, right? But sometimes our erring is so impactful that we really can't make it better, what took place. Emails don't seem to work. Calling, showing up. It's just, that one's just too much. But what is always available to us is to be able to go within our own soul, our own spirit, our own thinking, our own awareness. Say, okay, what is going on here? What is it I need to learn? How do I need to be next time? And that next time may be in that same relationship, or it may be another relationship that brings it to you, because you're always going to be given the opportunity to show if you got it last time around. And until you get it, you're going to continue to be given the opportunities to get it. So you might as well get it now so you don't have to get it later. But the thing is that as we take the shift inside of us, we get to have the experience that shows through our activity that, yeah, you know what? I am coming into that place, and I am going to be better and more in alignment with that in my life now. And it begins by accepting myself. You know what? I messed up here. And I've been practicing to get this out or do this. And with that, I have lost sight of my connection with Spirit showing up in this way. And I know I need to accept myself for whatever mistakes, challenges I made, because I am still a child of God. We are all a child of God. We are all within the mind of God. Just as the world that we experience is within our mind. We will always be within the one mind, and that universal mind, that one mind of God. There's no place we can go really to get away from that. But what I must need to do for it to have value is to recognize it. And that is what I'm attempting to do in accepting myself, because there's something inside of me that is greater than anything I may have done or may have said. For truly I am coming from a place of love. God is love. And where there is God, there is love. And that is what is available always in my life. And as I begin to have a sense of self-acceptance, my anxiety drops. Have you ever noticed you're kind of anxious and you go into a situation, all of a sudden something clicks and now you're in the groove? It's like, it's gone. Where did it go? Self-acceptance is better than an elephant tranquilizer. It does the trick. You know, it gets you to that place where I am who I am, and that is okay, because it is Spirit expressing in its unique way, and that is the relationship that I am bringing to the table. You know, trying to act from that first loud voice in the head that is trying to paint the canvas on its own because it knows what is best is like a sunbeam thinking it is not connected to the sun, or a wave that is not connected to the ocean. That's ridiculous. A sunbeam is always going to be connected to the sun, and the wave is always going to be part of the ocean, and we are always going to be within the mind or the field of that divine consciousness. So what is available to us always is the totality of it. And so those that are living an illumined life, if you would, are the ones who are able to know their qualities of being, the joy, the happiness, the love, the abundance. And those that have developed it are able to walk in this world expressing and living in those divine qualities of wellness and wholeness and peace. But what's important here is that you have learned to come from your heart, not trying to assuage the guilt, not trying to get rid of guilt, to come from your heart, from a sense of self-acceptance that you have learned from the other relationships that have created a sense of separation that I am choosing to make up right now for whatever I have been my shortfalls, to be the best expression that I can be in this moment. And it's about being that. It's not about, see, the human experience is we came into this world and we learned that we have to create what it is we want. It is about manifesting and making things happen and demonstrating it through my power of positive thinking. And if I want it to be, I've got to make it be, and all those kind of things. But I'll tell you, the spiritual approach is an entirely different approach, which isn't necessarily spoken about in the rah-rah seminars that are out there. And that spiritual approach is to recognize that you are that, and already that you do not need to create, achieve, accomplish, make happen, or pray into existence the health or the wealth or the success, but rather it is already the truth that God is, and you become its conduit. You become the place through which it expresses. You are the very life of the abundance and the joy and the health and the well-being. And it doesn't matter what the material world has told you, or the documentations that tells you about your body or your bank account. You are an expression of that infinite expression of God, and you're not making anything happen. You are being that place in which it shows up in your life now. God bless you as you do this. I love you. Hey, let's keep going for Gary Lynn Floyd.
One heart, one life. We are one family, one earth. One heart, one life. We are one family, one earth. And together we can make a difference in our world. Every creed and color, every boy and girl, all of creation, no separation. We are one heart. One heart, one life. We are one family, one earth. One heart, one life. We We are one family, one earth. And together we can make a difference in our world. Every creed and color, every boy and girl, all of creation, no separation. We are one, one heart. Even though it seems we are so far apart, many times we're feeling all alone. The truth of who we are has been here from the start. We are one heart, one life. We are one family, one earth, one heart, one life. We are one family, one earth. Together we can make a difference in our world. Every creed and color, every boy and girl, all of creation, no separation. We are one, one heart, one life, one world, one love, one heart, one mind, one love. All of creation, no separation. We are one, one heart.
That is Jerry Lynn Floyd. What a perfect song for this morning's message. That is, wow, no separation.